In every corner of the world, there are stories buried deep beneath the surface, stories that go unnoticed, unspoken, and often untold. Thailand is no different. While it's widely known for its breathtaking landscapes, rich culture, and vibrant tourism industry, there's a darker side that most tourists never see. Tucked away in the bustling streets of Paia, amidst the neon lights and the constant hum of nightlife, lies a practice that's as controversial as it is complex: the wife rental business. This practice isn't just about catering to tourists, it's a reflection of the harsh realities of poverty, cultural expectations, and the lengths people will go to survive in a world that often leaves them with no choice. This story is not simply about women offering companionship to foreign visitors. It's a tale of survival, desperation, and the thin line that separates those who have from those who don't. As we peel back the layers of this hidden industry, we'll explore the human stories, the cultural implications, and the ethical dilemmas that lie beneath the surface. What are the real costs of this so-called business? What drives people to participate in it? And what does it reveal about the intersection of economics, culture, and morality in Thailand? This journey is bound to challenge your perceptions and make you question how much you really know about the realities behind the picture-perfect images of a tourist paradise. In the heart of Paia, a picturesque town that draws countless tourists each year, a practice exists that's far from what most visitors expect. It's known as wife for hire. Despite its misleading name, this practice has little to do with actual marriages. Instead, it's a temporary arrangement where women, usually from impoverished rural areas, enter short-term relationships with foreign tourists. These agreements can last anywhere from a single day to several weeks, sometimes even stretching out to a month. On the surface, it might seem like just another form of transactional companionship, but the reality is much more complex and much more troubling. These women are often found working in bars or nightclubs, particularly in Paya's infamous red light district. Here, the boundaries between tourism and survival blur to the point where it's hard to tell where one ends and the other begins. For many, this is their only means of making a living in a world that offers them few other opportunities. But what makes this situation even more precarious is the fact that it operates in a legal gray area. There's no official protection for either the women or the tourists, leaving both parties vulnerable to a range of risks: financial, legal, and even personal. A recent study by the United Nations World Tourism Organization revealed that Paya's informal economy, including the wife-for-hire business, accounts for nearly 30% of the city's GDP. That's a massive figure, highlighting just how integral this practice is to the local economy. Yet, behind the statistics lies something far more significant. This isn't just a matter of economic survival. It's a reflection of the human cost of the sacrifices these women make, of the risks they take, and of the grim reality that forces them into this line of work. What some might see as just another part of the tourist experience is, for these women, a means of survival in a system that gives them few other options. To truly understand why this practice exists, it's important to consider the cultural and economic context that drives it. Thailand, like many developing countries, faces significant economic disparities. In rural areas, opportunities are scarce, and poverty is widespread. For many women from these regions, moving to the city and entering the wife-for-hire business is not a choice, it's a necessity. They are driven by the need to support their families, to provide for their children, and to escape the crushing poverty that plagues their hometowns. But this decision comes at a heavy price. In a society where family honor and societal roles are deeply ingrained, these women face intense stigma and shame. They are judged not only by their communities but also by themselves, trapped in a paradox where they are both the providers and the outcasts. The cultural expectations placed upon them are in direct conflict with the reality of their situation. On one hand, they are expected to be dutiful daughters and mothers, providing for their families. On the other, they are forced into roles that are seen as dishonorable and degrading. This creates a vicious cycle of guilt, shame, and desperation, with no easy way out. The choices these women make are not black and white. They are shaped by a complex web of cultural, social, and economic pressures. For them, the decision to enter this business is not about ambition or desire, it's about survival. It's about doing whatever it takes to make ends meet in a world that offers them few alternatives. This harsh reality is a stark reminder of the deep inequalities that exist in our global society, and of the human cost of those inequalities. The lack of legal protections creates a breeding ground for abuse and exploitation. Without regulations, both parties, tourists and women, are exposed to significant risks. For the women, there's no safety net, no recourse if things go wrong. The tourists, too, are navigating a situation where misunderstandings can easily escalate into something far more dangerous. There are questions of ethics that arise from this practice. Is it merely a transaction between consenting adults, or does it go deeper than that? The power dynamics at play can't be ignored. In most cases, it's the tourists who hold all the cards financially, socially, and legally. The women, already disadvantaged by their economic status, have little choice but to comply with whatever terms are set. It's a stark reminder that in this hidden world, the balance of power is anything but equal. Behind the statistics are real people, women with dreams, fears, and families. Some entered this world with hopes of making quick money and moving on. Others found themselves trapped in a cycle of dependency, unable to escape the very thing they once thought would save them. The emotional toll is immense. There's the constant fear of judgment from society, the shame of being in a business that's frowned upon, and the deep psychological scars that come from being treated as a commodity. One woman shared her story anonymously, revealing how she initially got involved to support her children's education. What started as a temporary fix spiraled into a nightmare of broken promises, shattered self-worth, and years spent in a profession she now despises. But what choice does she have? For many of these women, leaving this life isn't just difficult, it's impossible. The lack of alternative opportunities and the stigma they carry make reintegration into respectable society nearly unthinkable. It's impossible to separate this industry from the broader context of tourism. The red light districts, the bars, the nightclubs, they're all part of the tourist trail, luring visitors with promises of exotic experiences. For some tourists, the wife for hire business is just another aspect of their vacation, something they engage in without fully understanding or caring about the consequences. But the reality is far from harmless. By participating even unknowingly, these tourists fuel a cycle of exploitation. It's easy to turn a blind eye when you're just passing through, but for the women involved, this is their everyday reality. They're stuck in a system that thrives on their vulnerability, while tourists come and go, often oblivious to the human stories behind the service they're paying for. When visiting a foreign country, there's an unspoken responsibility to understand and respect local customs and traditions. The practice of wife for hire is often misunderstood by outsiders, leading to misconceptions that further stigmatize the women involved. It's crucial to approach such situations with cultural sensitivity, recognizing that what might seem strange or even wrong to us is often rooted in survival mechanisms shaped by complex social and economic factors. For tourists, understanding these dynamics is key to engaging responsibly. Knowing what drives this industry and how deeply it's intertwined with issues like poverty and gender inequality can help us navigate these spaces with greater empathy. Ignorance isn't an excuse. It's a choice to overlook the real lives behind the headlines. The wife rental business in Thailand raises difficult questions about ethics, poverty, and survival. It's easy to judge from a distance, but the reality is far more complicated than it appears. For the women involved, this isn't a simple transaction, it's their livelihood, their survival. And for the tourists, it's a reminder that every action has consequences, often unseen but deeply felt by those at the receiving end. The conversation shouldn't end here. We need to question how much we really know about the lives behind the tourism industry, and whether more can be done to protect those who are most vulnerable. It's not just about regulating the practice, it's about understanding the human cost of systems built on exploitation. If this story resonates with you, it's worth reflecting on what ethical travel really means. Share your thoughts, engage in discussions, and most importantly, travel with a consciousness that goes beyond enjoying the sights. There's a world of difference between being a tourist and being a responsible traveler, and it's a difference that can change lives.